Hi, this is Jordan. This month's XDA Developer TV is brought to you by the Samsung Smart App Challenge 2012. Enter for your chance to win your piece of over $4 million in cash prizes by clicking the banner at the top of xda-developers.com or by visiting developer.samsung.com. It's Friday, May 25th, 2012, and let's go ahead and do a recap of what happened over at xda-developers.com this week. Starting things off on a pretty good foot, we had some excellent development news. We had one excellent guide posted on the forum by XDA Forum senior member Nero Young, which is a beginner's guide to Android ROM development. There's also been a couple of guides added by XDA recognized contributor Blind in Dumb for porting LewaOS and JoyOS to your device of choice, as long as your device of choice is supported by CyanogenMod 7. So all in all, if you've ever wanted to mess around with Android ROM development or just tweaking on ROMs and learning what makes them tick, this is the best time to take a look at it. And speaking of messing around with your device and tweaking on it, what better way to do it than if it's unlocked? However, if you have the HTC One X and you're on AT&T, you probably have been feeling a little bit left out because you haven't been able to unlock it. That is, until now. XDA senior member Grankin01 has released an easy-to-follow guide for rooting the HTC One X on AT&T just this week. The gist of the article makes it sound like you're actually making a couple of minor changes to the device to make it think that it's not an AT&T device, but a Rogers device, and then you just proceed to use the standard HTC Dev unlock method. So one way or another, this is a great way to get your device unlocked if you're on AT&T, you have the One X, and you are interested in doing that. And speaking of breaking things open and developing things, doing things the XDA way as it were, last week we talked a lot about the Samsung Galaxy S3, and one of the things we mentioned was that we had a developer that managed to pull S-Voice off the Galaxy S3 and make it available for other devices. Well, shortly thereafter, people started noticing it was not working for them anymore. As it turns out, the original application had a build prop check to see if you were actually using a Galaxy S3, and it would just fail if you weren't. However, XDA senior member iTheHappy has gone ahead and taken care of that for you. He created a signed version of the APK that just tells itself, hey, by the way, I'm the Galaxy S3, don't bother checking anything. I definitely recommend going ahead and checking it out if you are interested in having this for yourself. I tried it on my Droid X briefly and could not get it to install. I've probably done something wrong. I'll keep trying on it though. And actually staying in that same tangent of doing things the XDA way and sort of going around the system and whatever else, an excellent, interesting article was released this week talking about how Chainfire, XDA Elite Recognized Developer and all-around awesome guy, mentioned basically every week that I've made a video, how he managed to find his way around the Windows Marketplace. Since the Windows Marketplace is closed at this point, he felt it was safe to go ahead and release the information on it. So if you haven't already, I do definitely recommend going over to the website and taking a look at the article. You can head over to Chainfire's blog and read about it there as well. Now, speaking of things that we have talked about before, earlier this week I mentioned the Samsung Galaxy S2 and the Galaxy Note ROM bugs, that basically there was something wrong in the ice cream sandwich kernel that was causing a super brick, basically bricking your device beyond recovery. Now, much to the surprise of pretty much everybody, Samsung has decided to go ahead and release the source code for Ice Cream Sandwich to the Samsung Galaxy Note, at least the international version, that is. Now, the cool thing about that is the community can now take that source, implement it in the ROMs that are being created, and make it work appropriately, make the bricking not happen. So if you're interested in learning more about that or seeing the code, definitely check the link to the article, which I will have down in the video description. And continuing along that same line of things that we've talked about previously, just sort of updates here. Before I mentioned that the first custom ROM for the Nokia Lumia 710 had been released. Well, this week we have another update. The first custom ROM for the Nokia Lumia 800 has been released as well. This is courtesy of XDA Forum member Lucifer3006, and it is based off Windows Phone 7.10.8773.98, which is actually Tango. However, you should keep in mind the developer has said this is only for devices with Qualcomm bootloader, so if you don't have one, don't try this ROM on it or you're going to end up with a big old paperweight. And actually, another story that's following up on something we've talked about before. Last time we talked about Apple banning the import of HTC devices, or at least Apple figuring out a way to keep HTC from importing devices. Well, this week Microsoft has won an import ban against Motorola for 18 of their devices. Now, from the article it mentions this was a 2010 complaint that Microsoft filed, so I'm not entirely sure which devices are going to be affected, if it's going to be the older devices or if it has to do with the newer ones as well. And additionally, Motorola is not going to be immediately impacted by this. For the next 60 days, they will still be allowed to import the devices. They're just going to be charged 33 cents per unit to do so. The one part of this article that really does stick out to me, the company was quoted in a public statement as saying they were disappointed. And I have to say I kind of agree. Okay, I extremely agree with that. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. After seeing the Apple story earlier this week and the Motorola Microsoft story now, how long are we going to sit by idly? I know there's not a whole lot we as consumers can do, but how long are we going to sit by and allow these larger companies to stifle innovation by basically saying, you do something in a very similar way to the way that we do something, so you're not allowed to do that anymore. We have a patent on the idea that breathing air in through your nose and out through your mouth is the way that things should be done. So you should pay us a royalty for that, or we're going to kick you out of the country. I know that's a bit of a stretch, but it really just gets on my last nerve that one company comes up with something, they claim that it's 100% theirs, that no one else can ever do anything somewhat similar to it. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen an Apple-Samsung lawsuit yet over Siri versus Samsung's S-Voice. I guarantee you that will be showing up in the next couple of months, if it has not already been in the works. To put it mildly, it just irks me greatly to see one company, one large company in particular, going against another company, even another large company, for making something that is in any way, shape, or form similar. I read an article recently describing why the Samsung Galaxy S3 had been designed the way that it is, and there's been a lot of people complaining about the design of the Galaxy S3. Basically, they say it was designed by lawyers to get around Apple's lawsuits against Samsung over their infringing on the iPhone design, for it having rounded corners and being the exact same thickness all the way around, and having rounded buttons on the front. And again, it's just things like that, really minute things that companies claim that they have rights to, that irks me. And much in the same way, and I don't know how many of you are going to get the reference here, how long is it going to be before Apple goes to Canonical and says, you put the buttons in the upper left-hand corner of the window for Unity. We did that first, so you owe us money. You can't do that anymore. We're going to sue you. Anyway, I'm rambling, I'm ranting and raving, and I do apologize for that, but it's something that really just gets under my skin, and I thought I'd like to share that with you. That's really the majority of the news I had to share with you here today. I'm trying to keep it short and sweet, but I know that's not going to happen now. I have to get back to moving because that's going to be happening today. If you haven't already, make sure to check out the video that Will released earlier this week on how to root the Meizu MX and install Ice Cream Sandwich on top of it. Otherwise, I hope you have a great weekend, and I will probably be seeing you on Monday with a weekend recap, so I will see you then. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.